You are live with Get Connected. Mike Agerbo here with John Beeler. We're your guide to digital living. We're going to talk everything from smartphones to home networking to video gaming. And also in today's show, tire tech, winter tire tech.
I didn't know I needed to know more about winter tires.
You need to. We have a great interview with a tire king over at Michelin. And I didn't know there was so much to know about the technology that goes into winter tires. So if you haven't got winter tires, you need to listen. Let's talk about some of the news, John, some interesting stuff. This first one here you sent to me, I think it was last night, and I showed my wife and I said, I have to have this. It's a new video game console from Bud Light.
What's crazy is that it's in the shape of a six-pack.
Yes.
It has 2 spots that will actually chill your beers and a projector.
It's got a built-in projector. It'll chill your beers, and it's got 7 built-in games and a controller.
It's like Homer Simpson designed a console.
Yes. How much?
Unobtainium.
You can bid on these.
Yeah. I mean, basically, they're not doing this for mass production.
No. So I think the minimum bid right now is $2,000.
I think you'd probably pay that, though.
Oh, yeah. My wife's like, oh, hell no. No, don't even think about bidding on that. Well, I don't have $2,000 to spend on a Bud Light video game console, but oh, so cool. Don't you think?
It's a neat idea.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like the press they got around it.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just one of those crazy things like no one would ever make this, and someone did.
Who at Bud Light came up with that? I guess after a Bud Light bender. Hey, George, I got an idea. But yeah, listeners at home, Google it. It is all kinds of awesome. They've got a cool video for it as well. Something a little more serious. Amazon Ring doorbell was hacked, I believe, down in Florida, and this was not good. So Ring has come under fire for not having the most secure video doorbells out there. They have taken steps to lock them down with things like 2-factor authentication. So it's difficult for people to get into your account. But someone did down in Florida, a hacker out of Sweden. They haven't identified the suspect yet. They're still looking for him. Was basically able to get into this woman's Ring doorbell camera and actually call the police department.
Well, we should clarify, though, because this particular hack, they got into their home Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And then changed all the passwords for everything else.
So, yeah. So they hacked into the
But what they were doing
router.
is they were waiting until the person was home.
Yeah.
Then they called the cops, and then they basically did what's called a swatting attack, where they call the cops, basically say that there's somebody been killed, and basically you need to get there now. And so they come and show up with the giant SWAT tank and guns drawn and everything like that. And this woman's like, what the hell?
Well, yeah, this poor woman, they locked down her kid's school because they thought there was, a homicide had happened. Luckily, the police phoned ahead to see if she was still alive. And she was.
What was that conversation like?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
But they still obviously went there, and the hacker was still on the Ring video doorbell because there's 2-way communication, right?
Yeah.
So he was actually taunting the police through the video doorbell.
Right.
So keep in mind, it's just audio. He can see the video from the video doorbell, but they can't see him.
Yeah. It seems like a juvenile thing. But swatting attacks have actually been very dangerous. In the US, there's been a couple of cases where the SWAT team shows up, guns drawn. The person who's being swatted has no idea what's going on. They make the wrong move, they get shot, and people have actually died.
Yeah, it's very tragic. You have a Ring video doorbell, as do I.
Yeah.
Are you worried about the security on it?
No.
Why?
Well, partly because I think I have pretty good passwords on all my stuff.
Yeah.
So and that's
how most of these are getting hacked into.
Anytime you hear a hack, 9 times out of 10, it's because someone had a really insecure password.
Yeah.
Or in this case, they got in through some other mechanism and they were able to go in and reset all the passwords and get those notification emails to, click to reset. So that's not really a hack in the traditional
No, it's
sense.
not like the KGB is hacked into them.
No, and they haven't like in the movies, they've attached something to your Ring doorbell and been able to hack it that way. No, nothing like that. But it's just something to sort of keep in mind, and definitely have unique passwords on all of these security products, and have them really strong, like really good passwords, not just your kid's name or your birthday or something silly like
or
that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's yours, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. No, it's not. No, I've had one for a while now. It is really awesome. I don't think I could live without it now.
No, me neither.
It's funny. Funny story. I've used it to track what couriers are coming and going as well. Part of the story we're doing later on is the Michelin tire story.
Yes.
And so they've actually sent tires for us to try out and test. So I've been kind of getting them one at a time.
Well, and what's interesting though, you told me the story is like, there wasn't even a notification. I swear the couriers try to like, how can we like deke out the Ring doorbell?
No, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause
like, do they move really slowly?
yeah. Like I got the first couple tires and I thought, oh, okay. They're just sending us 2. And anyway, the other,
Which is weird.
And then like a couple mornings later, I'm, going out to get the mail, and right on my front doorstep is a tire. So luckily I have the video doorbell because I didn't get any notifications, and I went in and saw it was like FedEx. And yeah, it's just like a tire. It's not in a box, or I don't know what I was expecting. Do you know what I mean? But it's just a tire with a way bill on it, with my name and address, essentially.
It's so weird. But I guess that's how you get tires.
Yeah. But it's just, I could go back in, look at the footage and see it was FedEx. But I swear the other tires were delivered by different couriers.
Again, that makes no sense.
I don't know.
But yeah, no, I always find that because where my doorbell is set up, I have a couple columns. And so depending on the angle that you come in, you can't actually like drop a package and my camera won't detect you.
Yeah.
But I swear that's like a game that they play
to see if they can deke it out.
Right.
Yeah. Because my postal delivery person, she is like, I don't know what kind of Zen ninja she is.
Yeah.
She can actually, my 2 little dogs, right?
Yeah.
If you get anywhere near my front yard, they're like, I don't know how they can sense it. They're on it. Like they're just barking away. My postwoman, she can get to the door, doesn't set off the Ring video doorbell, and doesn't set the dogs off.
And we should clarify, these doorbells have motion sensors.
Yeah.
So you have to do some pretty stealthy ninja stuff to get past them.
Yeah, my hat's off to her.
Yeah.
One other quick story here. Harley Davidson, they're getting into the whole electric game. We saw that with that new series with Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman. It's on Apple TV Plus.
Long way up.
If you haven't watched that, I would just get Apple TV Plus just to watch that series. It's all kinds of awesome.
Well, and they have the other 2 series that they did around the world.
Yeah. And it's been a while. Like the first one, The Long Way Around, they're basically 2 guys on motorbikes.
Yeah.
And they've, the first one, they toured around the world. The second one, they went from Scotland down to Africa. This one here is from the tip of South America up to LA.
Yeah.
And they did it on electric bikes, Harley Davidsons.
Prototype.
Yeah.
Harley bikes.
And you and I were just laughing the first couple episodes because they were just trying to figure it all out.
Well, and it was around the same time that I got my electric vehicle as well.
Yeah.
So I'm figuring it out the same time. I feel like I was figuring it out along with them and feeling their pain of trying to find an outlet that would actually put out enough juice to charge their bikes.
So Harley Davidson, they are coming out with a line of electric motorbikes, but they're also coming out with an e-bike brand as well.
Bicycles. Yeah.
Looks cool, but pricey.
They're expensive, but they're not out of the realm for this type of a bike. It's about $3,300 US for the entry level one, up to about $4,500, depending on the performance that you want. But what I thought was really kind of cool about these is they kind of like, remember the old school like 1900s era motorbikes?
Yeah.
Like they look very retro that way, but the motors and the batteries are all integrated into the stems and the frame. In the frame, they look really cool. Like really cool. Like I kind of want one they better start saving up your money.
Well, I know, but
this is an interesting space because a lot of companies are getting into this space because of the pandemic and everything else, and people want some flexibility. They want to have an actual bike that works, but also having that little speed boost so they can get up over the hill and stuff like that. Sounds like this one actually can get you like up some pretty steep hills without any problem at all.
I'm excited to check these out.
Yeah.
So coming 2021, I believe.
The spring, yeah.
Yeah. So pretty cool. So we've got an awesome show today here on Get Connected. Later on, we'll be looking at the latest video game statistics that are out there. You'd be surprised at who is playing video games. We will also be talking tire tech, and it's actually fascinating. We have a great guest on to chat about that. And coming up next, we'll be talking about the latest update to your MacBook, whether that's a laptop or computer. It's called Big Sur. It's the latest version of their operating system. We're going to tell you about some of the features, but also some of the issues that are out there as well, and how to potentially avoid those. You're listening to Get Connected. Back after this. You're back with Get Connected. Mike and John here. Don't forget to hit our contest page on the website, getconnectedmedia.com. We're always giving away awesome prizes. This month, it's the Google Pixel 4 XL. And this phone is amazing, just for the camera alone.
Yeah, and it's a native Android experience, so you get all the updates before anybody else does.
If you want to enter, getconnectedmedia.com, hit the newsletter tab. All the instructions are there on how to make that all happen. We still also will be talking tire tech and what people are playing on video games and who's playing them. We've got a great guest on to talk about all of that. Let's talk about Big Sur. That is the newest operating system for Mac computers. It's just come out for everyone. John, you've been using the beta or the test version for a while now.
Yes.
And what are some of the key features that you think that would make people want to upgrade?
Well, it's one of those tricky things. I think in a lot of cases, the majority of the under the hood stuff is more cleaning up bugs, fixing things. They did quite a extensive graphical design refresh.
Yeah.
A lot more integration with your smartphone or your tablet. And they all obviously set the stage for things like their new M1 chip based computers to basically run these native ARM processors as opposed to the current Intel processors, and sort of having to be able to translate across both of those platforms, as well as being able to launch and run your smartphone and tablet apps on your laptop or desktop as well, which is really cool. So, but like any new operating system update, they had some problems. It went live last week. Apparently, Apple servers melted.
A lot of people wanted to download it.
Yeah, because it's been a long time coming, and there's a lot of like user interface improvements, a lot of performance improvements.
Yeah, especially for Safari, the web browser.
Yeah. So they've really made that faster. Apple's claiming it's the fastest browser out there, period. And I have to say, when I started on the Big Sur beta in the summertime, before then, I was a Chrome guy.
Yeah,
all the time. But I wanted to sort of see if Apple's
Safari,
if their claims about Safari were true. I actually switched everything completely over to Safari, and I've been using Safari,
which again is their default browser, the Apple browser.
That's right. Yeah. And there's some things that I miss from Chrome, but there's a lot of nice things that I get with Safari over that. And it's only gotten faster over the summer as they've been integrating these updates to it that are ultimately what people can download today. So yeah, definitely if you have haven't used Safari for a while, and I left it because I found that it was just too limited compared to Chrome, because Chrome has a lot of extensions that people can use to do things to, better manage their memory, for example. That was a problem I had. I have hundreds of tabs open. I don't need them all running. And so there's nice extensions that would actually put those unused tabs to sleep until I need them.
Yeah.
Things like that. Whereas I find Safari is just much better at managing all that, and does little things that are sort of built in that aren't built into Chrome. Like, for example, auto playing any video. I can have that as a setting so it won't start auto playing, even YouTube.
Really? Because I go to a lot of the news sites like
Yeah.
CNN and what have you. And when you load up the web page, you go to a different one, it just starts playing video, and
Yeah.
it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So you can turn that off.
Yeah.
Oh, that's worth it right there for me.
No, and it literally is for me as well. But also, like, I have a MacBook Pro that has the touch bar.
Yeah.
So you can actually see little mini previews of each tab that you have open on that. So it's really easy to flip around back and forth. But one of the big things that they were touting was the performance and how fast it is. And it is fast.
What about on older computers?
Well, I have a 2016 MacBook Pro.
Okay, so that's 4 years old.
Yeah. And honestly, it's dreamy on that.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that particular laptop, when I bought it, was like $4,000. Like, it's fully
it better be dreamy,
fully maxed out.
Yeah.
Everything. But honestly, I can't tell the difference between that and my 2019 MacBook that I use for work. So, but apparently there's been some problems when a lot of people have older Macs, and that's really kind of the great thing about them is they have a longer shelf life than the average PC.
Yeah.
So if you have a late 2013 or mid 2014 MacBook Pro, a 13-inch model, apparently a lot of people have been having problems with that. And Big Sur, it's been bricking those machines.
Okay, so people, if they've got that particular MacBook, they should just kind of hang out for a bit.
Yeah.
Until they,
because it sounds like the solution right now that engineers have found is not pretty. You basically
is not to load it.
Well, no, how they fix or unbrick these things, they literally have to take the computer apart.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Like it's a very like weird problem. So
okay, so name the MacBooks now that.
So late 2013 or mid 2014, 13-inch MacBook Pro models.
And you can find that if you hit the little Apple icon and go to it.
It'll say that right in the About This Mac section. It's like, it'll say late 2013 or, early 2016, whatever your model is. If you have a 2013 or 2014 MacBook Pro 13-inch, hold off of MacBook or Big Sur for now.
We still have a lot to talk about here on Get Connected, including winter tire technology. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this. You are back with Get Connected. Mike Agarbo here with John Beeler. Well, a big part of the Canadian economic landscape actually happens to be the gaming industry. I just got a PlayStation 5 in recently.
Yes, you did.
Pretty excited about it. And again, you'd be surprised at some of the stats that are out there. The average age of gamers, you know this already, so I'm not going to ask you. It's 39 years old, which, a lot of people think it's just kids, right? Teenagers?
No,
but everyone's gaming.
Yes, especially right now.
Well, we've got a great guest on the line. His name is Jayson Hilchie. He's with the Entertainment Software Association of Canada. They've just done a really interesting study of gamers and the gaming industry in general. Thanks for joining us, Jayson.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Jayson, just a few stats I just want to get into. How much does the gaming industry pump into Canada, dollar-wise?
So we're looking at a couple of different paradigms when this question's asked. So from the production side of things, and Canada's a really interesting country when it comes to the production and development of video games. Our production industry is actually bigger than our consumer sales. And so we have about 28,000 full-time employees in our industry, and about another 20,000 that are supported by our industry. At an average salary in our industry around $75,000, and altogether, between all of these people, it contributes about $4.5 billion to the GDP of this country. So it's quite large. Contrast that to the sales of video games in Canada at about $3.5 billion. We have a bigger GDP impact from development of games than we do from the sale of games, which is a bit upside down with most countries.
There's a lot of studios here in Canada. And again, when I talk studios, these are the little development companies, not so little, some of them, that actually make the games.
We do. We have about 700 studios in Canada, most of them medium, small businesses of 1 to 5 to 10 individuals making games. But we also have some of the world's largest studios. Electronic Arts in Burnaby, British Columbia is the world's largest purpose-built video game studio, huge sprawling campus. And in Montreal, Ubisoft's studio is actually the world's largest studio per number of people working there. So we have two of the largest studios, both from an infrastructure standpoint and from an employee standpoint, both exist in Canada. So that's really interesting.
So what was this study all about, Jayson?
So this study this year was not so much about the economic impact of the production of our industry, but it was all about who's playing games. What do those people look like? Who are they? Why are they playing? But what's more important is this year we took advantage of, I hate to say we took advantage. What we did was we piggybacked onto the lockdowns in May, and we took the opportunity to ask questions about how video games were impacting people as they were isolating at home during the first phase of lockdown. So that was something we've never done before, and it gave us some really interesting insights about that.
And what did you find?
Well, what we found was that on a broad scale, video games are making people feel a lot better. Video games are helping people connect with their friends, helping them spend time with their kids. I'm the father of a 5 and an 8-year-old, and my kids, we were all at home during the spring and late winter, and my kids missed their friends. They were connecting with their friends on Minecraft and Roblox. And so for me to kind of get to where my kids were, I went to them with the video games and spent more time gaming with them. And so what we're finding is that parents are spending a lot of time gaming with their kids, connecting with their kids. And, the positive impact of games we've all known about, but to get this information out there is really important, especially, as we head into what could be a long, long winter ahead of us.
It's interesting. I think sometimes there's a negative connotation when you think about gamers. They're just kind of these loners that sit in the dark in their bedroom or down in the basement. But like you were saying, it's a very social activity.
Yeah, and the stereotype that exists, I've been in this job 8 years. And so for me, I've had to deal with this in a variety of different situations. But as you said at the top of the show, average age of a gamer, 38 in this study of adults, 34 across the board with respect to, kids and adults. So what we're seeing is, video games are being played across all demographic spectrums. We have corporate executives, we have service employees, we have kids, we have retirees, and we're going to be launching some profile videos tomorrow when we launch this video, and it's going to really profile numerous different people across the demographic spectrum in Canada and about how games are shaping their lives and positively impacting them. So, stay tuned for that, because that's really going to shed some light on some of the data points that you've got in front of you.
So the question I ask, why do you guys exist? Like, why does the video game industry need help? It looks like they're pretty successful as is.
Well, most industries have a trade association that works on behalf of them. And so we represent a broad swath of some of the largest video game producers, distributors, and publishers in Canada. We exist for really two things. The first is we protect the industry. So we make sure that things like yesterday's announcement of new privacy legislation, other types of things like immigration and copyright reform, Broadcasting Act reform, those types of things that take the video game industry and our positions into account. The second thing is that we promote it. So what I'm doing right now and what this research is designed to do, which is to give information about the video game industry to politicians, to government decision makers, to the media and the general public about what the video game industry is doing, how the video game industry is growing and impacting not only the economy of Canada, but the overall everyday lives of people in Canada. And that's what this particular study is about, that latter point, how video games are interacting with the everyday lives of Canadians.
Any other interesting things you found in the study?
Well, what we found was that, and I've been talking about this, game sales are booming. Game sales have been up since the beginning of the pandemic. We all expected to see an increase in the number of new gamers that came into the ecosystem. We've got 23 million gamers in Canada. And to be clear, how we define that is you've played a game in the last 4 weeks. It doesn't matter what platform that's on. That could be on an Xbox, it could be on a PlayStation, but it could also be on a mobile phone. And so mobile phone gamers are gamers just like anyone else. But as you see, that ecosystem includes a lot of different people playing on different platforms. But what we did end up finding was, instead of this large increase in people entering the video game ecosystem, at least at the snapshot when this study was taken, what we're seeing is that existing gamers in that 23 million are actually buying new equipment, new games, and gaming on different platforms. 60% of video gamers are gaming on more than one platform, which means they could be playing games on their phone, but they could also be playing on a console or a PC. And so what we're seeing is people that already game, they're playing more games, and they're playing games that exist across different platforms, and they're playing them online, primarily to connect with their friends, to compete. And so it's really filling this void in a lot of people. And that was, I think, what was most interesting to me, was that it's really the existing gamers that are driving that demand at that point in time.
We're talking with Jayson Hilchie. He is a member of the Entertainment Software Association of Canada, all about a new study they have done about gaming in our country. Where can people find out more information about that study?
So they can go to our website at theesa.ca. And from there, they'll be taken to a microsite that will outline all of the information. Every data point, beyond even some of these that I'm talking to you about today, can be found there. All about what people are playing on all the different demographics, what games, how often, just a plethora of information that would be very interesting.
Thanks for joining us, Jayson.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate being here.
When we come back from the break, more tech to talk here on Get Connected. Stay tuned. You are back with Get Connected. Mike and John here. Well, you know the saying, winter is coming. Well, in Canada, I think winter is here in many parts. And as such, it's important that we're prepared, especially when we're driving. A lot of places in Canada, winter tires are a must. But what kind of technology goes into tires themselves? Well, to help us understand, we've got a great guest from Michelin today. His name is Farrell Scott. Thanks for joining us, Farrell.
Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Just before we get going, what's your title over there besides tire guy?
Yeah, I'm a product category manager, specifically in the winter category, but I also covered BF Goodrich and Uniroll products as well. So
let's talk about winter tires and technology. I don't think people, always associate tires with technology, but tell us how that comes into play with your Michelin tires.
Yeah, I guess so. If you start at the, a very high level, obviously we're about providing a better way forward from a mobility standpoint. Tires are a part of that offer that we have, in addition to other services that we provide as well. And obviously we feel tires are a very key part of allowing people to move, especially in vehicles. And so as a result of that, particularly in winter, we know winter comes with its own challenges, right? And so as a result of that, we try to deliver, and we feel what we have delivered products to help people overcome or address those winter challenges, those different conditions they're experiencing. And a part of what we've been able to do recently, obviously, is to develop a winter tire, a premium winter offer, to be able to refresh what was already in the market in the form of our Excise 3 and our Latitude Excise 2. So again, we know from consumers and dealers and feedback that picking tires or buying tires are not always a fun thing to do, right? They come with a lot of challenges and a lot of information that could be a little bit of a challenge. So we try to make that easy by providing a product, again, that is addressing things that we've heard that consumers want in a product.
And so when you look at the actual tire itself, like what kind of technology is involved in making it a winter tire?
Yeah, so good question. So obviously, tires typically are in all categories, obviously have rubber, right? Natural rubber, synthetic rubber, introduce oils, right? And of course, carbon black. right? Some of the basic components. But really, the differentiation for winter from some of the other categories is really the winter compound itself. As I mentioned, you have the oils and things like that, but you typically introduce silica as well because you want that product to be flexible in extreme cold temperatures. So silica is an added benefit or a key product that allows you to have that flexibility in a winter product. Why do you need that flexibility? Because when it gets cold, again, you don't want your rubber compound becoming brittle and cracking because it's past a polymer will experience and transition and the glass transition temperature. So there's a glass transition temperature where polymers turn from being flexible to being brittle and potentially can crack. And as a result of that, because they're not flexible and in contact with the surface, you lose that level of traction in your contact patch, right? So that is the key aspect of a winter tire is to have a compound that has materials that allow it to lower the temperature that the tire can still be flexible. Okay. And so that's the one aspect of it is the compound, but then you also have the design of the tread or the sculpture of what you see. And typically for winter tires, you have a high level of what's called sipes, right? Those are cuts or slits in your tread blocks that allow those to become biting edges. So as those sipes come in contact with the road or the surface, they open up. So the block in essence opens and those become biting edges on surfaces like for snow and for ice, right? And so that's where you have that traction that you want. So you typically have more biting edges on the surface of the tire due to siping. And there's different types of siping you can introduce, depends on the level of functionality or the level of traction that you're obviously trying to gain with your product. So siping is key. And then you have what's typically you want an open tire or void, a void ratio to allow you to be able to evacuate snow, slush, rain, and those types of elements that are winter to be able to evacuate that from the contact patch or where the tire comes in contact with the road. You want to be able to evacuate those elements from the surface again so that you can have that maximum contact of the tire to the road. So having a more open tire or more void ratio on the tire is key for a winter tire as well. So those are like some of the main elements that differentiate a winter tire from the all season and summer.
I'm learning a lot.
I never knew there was so much about tires.
No, it makes a lot of sense the way you've explained it. It's great. Can you just sort of explain? Because one of the big questions that we've talked about fairly recently, Mike and I, is we've got like the mud and snow tires. How is that different than a winter tire?
Yeah, no, good question. So one thing about the mud and snow tire is that's the M+S. That's the designation that really has no winter performance measurements associated with it. It's literally the design of the sculpture or the tire. So in other words, for mud and snow, it was really an expectation that if you look at the older tires that basically had the circumferential grooves, right, that basically did not have the blocks or siping or anything like that. So M+S was just a designation to say, hey, in your molds, you need to have this level of void ratio on the surface of the tire. That's what distinguished it to make it mud plus snow. But then you also had to have a certain level of angles of your block. So instead of just your normal circumferential grooves that ran around the tire, you had to now start to angle the blocks. So it allowed you to be able to not just stay on a straight, flat surface, but be able to navigate off-road. So mud plus snow was more a visual indication that you didn't have just your traditional circumferential grooves running around the tire. You now had block angles that were changed angles to allow you to have that level of traction off-road, right? And then three-peak mountain snowflake, because mud plus snow is designated for traditionally most of the tires in today's market. Three-peak mountain snowflake was an international standard introduced for at least the snow traction, and they're calling it severe snow traction, to meet a minimal standard for snow traction for a tire against a reference tire, right? And that reference tire was an all-season tire, right? And so every tire in the industry to reach a three-peak mountain snowflake minimum level needed to spin at a certain traction on a certain surface, right? A packed snow surface. So that is where you get the three-peak mountain snowflake designation. And so a winter tire will obviously have a higher level of snow traction to have the three-peak mountain snowflake. But one key differentiation is not every all season, all weather, or summer tire may not have necessarily a three-peak mountain snowflake certification attached with it. And just because it has a three-peak mountain snowflake certification doesn't mean it's a winter tire, because it means it only met the minimum requirement just for snow traction. And we know winter is much more than just snow. It's ice, it's slush, and it's all those other performances that you don't have to test to get that level of certification.
I'm just blown away by all the things that are going into these tires. Have you noticed much change over the past 10 years or further, like on the winter tire technology? Like what major advancements have happened?
Yeah, so obviously for winter, we try to listen, obviously, and we do listen to consumer feedback, right? And so and dealer feedback, and obviously the use of our product. So, typically what we hear and what we see and experience even in our testing is that there is an expectation that typically driving behavior in snow, depending on the level, you typically augment your driving behavior, but typically that's not enough to potentially, depending on the climate and the conditions, of course, to stop you or discourage you from driving. But typically for ice, that's something that people have much more fear about trying to, because there's a level of control you don't have. So being able to improve that ice traction is really something that is key without sacrificing your snow traction, of course, as well, which you expect day in and day out. Obviously, that snow and slush, especially slush, being able to navigate in and around slush as you change lanes or you get off exits and things like that are also very key. So trying to find the balance of snow versus ice and really trying to improve performance in both is really something that winter tire technology has improved in for sure, because historically they were called snow tires, right? Only focusing and looking at you think on around snow performance, because again, people felt like, with ice I can't necessarily have that same level of control or confidence in being able to drive on ice.
Who knew there was so much in tire tech? We have been talking with Ferrell Scott. We'll call him the Tire King now. This has been very, very enlightening. Where can people find out more information about this?
Yeah, so typically there's what we call influencers or others that test and evaluate tires, third parties that we have a very good relationship with, and obviously try to establish correlation of performances and developing new products as well. So there's tire dealers typically on their website will have information. Obviously on Michelin.com, we have more tire information that you can find out about our products, and then also just general tire information as well, with links to other good sources of information as well. And of course, you can always reach out to GetConnected, it appears, to get more information.
Well, thank you for joining us, Farrell.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it, and happy driving, safe driving. And thank you for allowing me to speak today.
When we come back from the break, more tech to talk here on Get Connected. Stay tuned. You're back with Get Connected. Don't forget to check out our sister show, The App Show. It is on typically Sundays on Chorus stations. And in Toronto, it's on right after this show. So stick around. On The App Show this week, we'll be talking about Staffy. This is an app for on-demand workers. So if you're a restaurant and need someone to fill a shift and you don't have enough workers, you can use this app to find someone. Also, we'll be talking about another new app that helps businesses do contact tracing. You know, when you go into a restaurant and you have to write your name and phone number down, I always think everyone's going to know my phone number now. Because you know what I mean? Like everyone's just looking at that sheet. Yep. Well, there's an app called CONECTED that solves that problem. And don't forget to hit our contest page at getconnectedmedia.com, giving away a Google Pixel 4 XL. All you have to do, again, visit the website, getconnectedmedia.com, hit the newsletter tab, and all the instructions are there. I want to thank John, my co-host, and also Christina, our producer. We'll see you again next time.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube page. And you know that little bell icon? Hit that and you'll be notified every time we post a new video. And comment. The more comments and the more likes and subscriptions we get, the more videos we can make.